it reminds me too then of this is what led to the drama between Candace and Mikhaila on Pierce. This, did you guys see this?
I'm going to bring these two together. Candace Owens, host of the Candace podcast.
So this was a couple months ago, and this is the ongoing drama over this issue of the spat. Candace calls out Mikhaila on immigration.
Knowledge. But to be clear, the program has been around since 1990, so the results aren't up for debate. We were just simply...
By the way, I have to say, I mean, I think in the topic, like on the topics, I don't think Mikhaila is going to win on the topics.
Lied to about what we were told it was going to do, which was to source the top 1% of talent globally. Instead, they're using the program to source cashiers, teachers, janitors, PR people. So I'm going to have to believe that the American people are very much capable and willing to fulfill those positions, and that instead this program has been completely abused to get foreign workers here who then have a pathway to citizenship, and it lowers worker wages. And
don't know what you're talking about. Let's play a little clip.
Now, this is the drama part.
From that.
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Not
and
good.
This is from cider.
I feel like Joe Rogan is all of us. I'm listening to that, and it doesn't pass the sniff test. I'm just going, wait, what, apple cider? You didn't sleep for how long? What are you talking about? He brings up Mikhaila, by the way. That's his daughter. We're going to get into it. That explanation does not make sense to me whatsoever. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to know how everybody's body reacts to apple cider, but I just don't think that you wouldn't sleep for that long because of it.
Okay, so
where was the
Mikhaila,
ad hominem attack?
Well, I'll come to you in a moment, Candace. Mikhaila, how did you feel when you heard about that?
Well, I think it's funny because, like, we're connected online, Candace. So if she,
It doesn't sound like an ad hominem attack. I mean, maybe she threw in a joke or something, but that isn't calling into question someone's account of this event. That's not really an ad hominem attack.
an issue with my family, she could literally just message me. Her husband has my husband's phone number, you know? So it's just like a weird thing to do. I don't know where it came from. As for the apple cider reaction, I've gone over this so many times, but it's fair if Candace didn't know this. Although I don't know why you would make a 26-minute video without doing some research. It wasn't apple cider. It was a sodium metabisulfite allergy. And it was near anaphylaxis. And people don't sleep in that state.
Yeah, but Jordan Peterson said that it was apple cider, so.
And when we went through that, which was horrible, it was horrible. We had a hard time with the medical system. We didn't know.
Well, I mean, I think Candace's point, as you guys were saying in the chat, right, is that Jordan went into rehab after this. So it seems like that might have been what was really going on and not apple cider.
How to treat it. It took us like years to figure out what the allergy was. If you talk to a doctor and say you have that allergy, they go, what's that? Like, it's not a common allergy, but it's not uncommon. You can Google it. And
by the way, I'm not accusing, I don't think Jordan Peterson has done anything morally wrong if he had an addiction or if he was prescribed something and the pharma stuff, messed him up. I have never been a fan of pharma stuff. So I'm not even saying that I think Peterson did something immoral or whatever. It's just a weird series of events. It's bizarre. That's all I'm saying.
it just seems a little bit cruel to like pull that up. You also started that video by saying, why is Jordan Peterson's audience, male audience, like diminishing? Let's get into it. Which is just, it's manipulative, right? It's not true.
Well, it is true that when he makes certain comments, he does get ratioed nowadays, and majority replies are the opposite of what he's saying. And I don't recall that happening back in the day, right?
You have this giant audience, Candace, and you say these things as if they're true, which confuses people when they're not. So I don't know what to say about it. It's aggravating, and I think it's a mean girl high school tactic.
Okay.
The one thing I will say is like some of the topics that Candace covers and focuses on, I don't really care about. Like, Blake Lively. I mean, I understand she's covering it because it's media and it's popular stuff. Like, and I mean, the Macron stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, probably that's could happen, but I just like, to me, those things aren't big deals. Right? I mean, they're not like lead stories. Maybe they get a lot of clicks and attention, which that's just how media works. But I don't think so far I've seen her be pretty well researched in when she does these debates.
Candace, you're a mean girl.
Or should I say when she does these topics?
Again,
By the way, this is going to be funny too. Like, I don't know what to expect Monday. I have no idea. I mean, we can thank our great Lord Yakub, right? Because he's created us white people to serve Queen Candace, right? But it'll be funny if Monday, we get a panel, and I mean, I just can't wait to see who the panel is going to be. It's going to be exciting. I have no idea. They don't tell you. So it's going to be exciting if we've got like, I mean, it's supposed to be about Papa Frank, right? And if we get Papa Frank, I mean, if we get Papa Frank defenders, I mean, it's going to be a blast, right? I mean, it could be like, who knows? They might be like me, somebody liberal criticizing Francis, and then like a Francis champion. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea who it'll be. It's going to be wild though. So I don't know if it's a segment or like a full, panel episode of sassing each other. And y'all know I can go a full 45 minutes of sass, right? Y'all know that, right? Y'all ready for a 45-minute sass fest on Piers Morgan? That's going to be wild.
accusing me of ad hominem attacks when I feel like she's engaging in them. Just to be clear and to contextualize this clip, Jordan Peterson was trending. I cover trends, I cover the news, and I think it's fair to cover topics when they come to the surface. He was essentially tweeting ad hominem attacks that were written like sonnets. It was very bizarre, and people were going.
That is an odd thing, right? Peterson does these poems where he goes after people critiquing the incels in their mom's basement or what. It's kind of weird. Like, if you disagree, you know, if you follow Fuentes, you're, living in your mom's basement or what. Like, he does these, and he writes it like a poem. It is weird.
What's going on with Dr. Jordan Peterson, and it became a Twitter trend, and so I covered it. Is there something wrong with covering a trending topic? I certainly don't think there is, or I wouldn't have a podcast or things to speak about. Regarding your father's audience, there were a lot of people who.
Oh man, could you imagine if it was Scam Shamu, William Albrecht, and then me and somebody else on the panel? That's a little too wild. I don't think that's the. I mean, it would be funny. I'll let the poop, the monkey poop will be flying if that happened, right? Rolf Stakes became a member for 13 months. What? Did you already cover doves flying at the Vatican? No, I did not. Doves flying at the Trad Cats are going full soy face with doves flying at the Vatican. Man, Roman Catholics, man, you guys love like the goofiest just damn omens and shit, which mean absolutely nothing. It's so stupid. Like doves flying at the. Now I got to see what it is. Let's see. Let's go to X. Doves flying. So what is that supposed to mean? Like, oh, Francis is flapping his way into heaven. But why would trad cats like that. Trad cats should hate Francis. Doves, Vatican. Here we go. What is this supposed to mean? By the way, you'll notice like when lightning struck the Vatican a few years ago, right? All the trad cats were, it's a sign from God. Lightning struck the Vatican. Oh wow. So, a bunch of birds fly over the Vatican. Oh, it's a sign. It's a sign that Francis is what, in heaven? What the heck is that supposed to mean? Hundreds of, it doesn't even say doves. Hundreds of white birds fly over St. Peter's Square. Wow. It's there you go. Proof that Catholicism's true. There you go. I mean, imagine basing your religion on the stupid shit like this. This is no wonder people are struggling.
After his addiction and feeling like he was not honest about his addiction, a lot of men who sort of switched off from Jordan Peterson. I mean,
It's there you go. Proof that Catholicism's true. There you go. I mean, imagine basing your religion on the stupid shit like this. This is no wonder people are struggling.
After his addiction and feeling like he was not honest about his addiction, a lot of men who sort of switched off from Jordan Peterson. I mean, that is just a fact.
Now, this is an interesting, I mean, Candace went right for the jugular here, right? With like, oh, well, turns out, seems like Jordan was actually struggling with addiction and covered it with a irritable bowel syndrome apple diarrhea story.
Understand and respect that it is your father, and so you're naturally going to be defensive of him. And if it was a family member of mine, I would naturally be defensive of him.
Yeah, it looked like seagulls. Oh, so now seagulls are doves?
To pretend like I plucked the topic out of pure air simply to be a mean girl and not because it was trending, literally saying that people are wondering what's going on with Jordan Peterson. I think that's you not being very genuine about why I was discussing it. And I think that I was tremendously respectful. I also paid him a huge...
I would have to say that out of debating, I have some critiques of Candace. I think that, probably for female debaters, there's not many of those. She might be the best debater for female debaters, but there's not even that many female debaters. But she's a pretty good debater. She kind of seems like a law girl, like a lawyer chick. You know what I mean? But I will say that in this discussion, Mikhaila actually held up pretty good under this sort of interrogation here. You'll see what I mean.
Compliment. I think his book and what it did for men worldwide at a time when men were being completely stomped on and masculinity was being questioned. And I said I would never remove that and would never take the credit away from him. But there have been some things that have just registered to the public as odd. I didn't make your father trend that day. So I think he's able to deal with a little bit of criticism.
You want to respond, Mikhaila?
I guess I'm just confused because Candace said she wasn't into celebrity culture. So then I thought maybe it was just a personal thing. If it's not about a celebrity, but maybe I just got that wrong.
That is interesting because if you're not into celebrity culture, you wouldn't be covering celebrities. But then, so I think that's actually a fair point. But Candace is arguing, well, I'm not covering celebrities. I'm covering whatever's trending that day.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
I think
else
you
I
just got
can
it wrong when I
respond to
said-
about that. People can listen to, can I finish? Thank you. People can listen to the 26-minute. Like you can say, oh, I said something nice at the end. It's the same thing when you say these things and your tone is off. You can be like, oh, tone doesn't matter, but you...
I mean, Mikhaila was actually making a good point there. And then going into tone is just such weak sauce. Like, come on, let's not... Everybody knows that when you start debating the tone, it's because you don't really want to address the issues.
say things sometimes in a bit of a manipulative fashion to get people to think a certain way. And then when people bring them up, you go, well, those aren't the words I said, but tone matters too. Anyway, people can go on YouTube and listen to the 26-minute section of your video on Dad and see what they think. I think it's high school mean girl tactics. I don't care if you think that's ad hominem either.
That was a pretty, I mean, it was a little weak sauce with the tone, but like, and then she's sitting like this, right? So if we do this, like that low tier body language shit, right? Like Mikhaila seems pretty standoffish, and Candace just seems like a ferocious lawyer in this situation, right? Like it's almost like a, I don't know, like a politician staring you down or something.
Candace?
Well, I would just say that when I was referring to celebrity culture, I meant worshiping people because they're celebrities. So I think that would make me ideologically consistent. And like I said, he was trending that day. I covered it as a trending topic. It's not a mean girl thing, but it might feel that way to you because it's your father and you have a personal relationship. You know,
Well, and I can
apologize
hear.
if you are hurt from me covering the news. But like I said, we have to develop a thicker skin when we're in the public. How many things?
I mean, Candace isn't just covering the news, right? She clearly had a position that is not just an objective covering of the news. It's actually a position that, you know, your dad is not probably not being honest about the situation. So it's more than just covering the news.
Are said about me routinely on a daily basis. If people want to cover after I have, you know, an addiction and people say, hey, after this, I think people lost faith in Candace Owens and that becomes a trending topic. I think that's fair game. It may not feel good to me, but I think that it would be fair game and it would be newsworthy.
Okay.
You do know that 1/5 of Americans are on psych meds, right? Are you?
By the way, again, totally off topic, but to my point earlier about psychotic people in America, yeah, like what, almost a fourth of the country is on insane psychomeds. I mean, we're living in a damn dystopian Brave New World nightmare where a fourth of the country almost is like literally on psych meds. So remember this, when you're dealing with people in public, you're actually dealing with pretty I mean, 1 in 4 of the people you're dealing with is insane. Dave at $5, or they're insane from the meds. Dave at $5. Imagine Piers in his underwear if you get nervous. I'll be honest with you, like, I'm not that nervous about Piers himself. I want to navigate Sola and Charybdis because Piers is, I think, some kind of Catholic, or he professes to be Catholic. So I can't go like super, you know, insane on Francis. I gotta be careful, or they just will never have me back, right? But I also want to be, you know, sassy and spicy in order to give a good, you know, bunch of retorts to the retorts that I'm going to be arguing with. I have no idea who's coming on. It could be our Catholic priest, could be Bishop. But what if it's Bishop Barron, dude? Oh, what if I get to debate Bishop Barron? Woo! I mean, I have no idea who will be on there. So it could be Tim Gordon. It could be Michael Knowles. Who knows? There's no telling, right?
Aware of the statistics?
Yes.
Are those all people with
Correct.
addictions? Like, is that your view of people on psych meds just in general?
That was an interesting technique. So it sounded like Mikhaila was trying to turn the audience against Candace, because Mikhaila's saying almost a fourth of the population is on meds. Are you saying that everyone on meds is like some kind of addict? Is that where she's going? So she's trying to turn the audience against her.
Fair game. It may not feel good to me, but I think that it would be fair game and it would be newsworthy.
Okay.
You do know that 1/5 of Americans are on psych meds, right? Are you aware of the statistics?
Yes.
Are those all people with
Correct.
addictions? Like, is that your?
That was a little bit of a, so I'm going to say Mikhaila's point here was actually manipulative. She's trying to manipulate the audience to be against what Candace is saying, because she said, you understand that a large portion of the audience is on meds. Are they all addicts? In other words, hey, in the audience, you should be mad at her for, this is an emotional appeal.
View of people on psych meds just in general?
Emotional appeal is a fallacy, by the way.
No, your father spoke out about his benzo addiction, so I don't understand why you're asking
Yeah,
me a
no,
question about people that
benzo
take psych meds.
dependence.
So there's now some psycho term difference between addiction and dependence. I mean, this is getting playing word games.
Benzo dependence. Maybe you don't know anything about this. If you're on a psych med long term, you form a dependence on it, and it's very difficult to get off of. They're starting to teach this in medical school. It's a disaster because so many Americans are on psych meds. So yeah, he suffered from psych med withdrawal because they make you form a dependence on it, especially long term. Now,
well, now wait a minute. I mean, Peterson in his book originally was saying take your meds. So has he reversed his position on this?
calling it an addiction as if he was on heroin or something is manipulative.
Well, it's not manipulative if that's most people's understanding and usage of the term addiction, right? A lot of people, for example, are prescribed painkillers after an accident, and then they form an addiction to the painkiller, and there's no moral fault on the part of the person because they ended up having this negative effect that they didn't intend to have from taking the prescribed pain relievers, right? So it's kind of unfair to say that it's necessarily negative. We do oftentimes think of addiction as negative, but it's not necessarily that, right? As if there's some moral flaw. So this is kind of getting a little more manipulative on the part of Mikhaila, I think.
You know, so when we talked about it and we were very honest about what was going on, part of it was to spread awareness that 1/5 of Americans are on medications that cause dependence and don't know it. It's horrible. People die because of it. So
this is, I think Mikhaila's, this is actually kind of clever from an optics standpoint. I don't agree with the approach that Mikhaila has, but she's actually being pretty clever to try to get an emotional connection with the audience against Candace. I think that's what she's doing here.
I think laughing about it is like,
yeah, these are emotional appeals, right? And emotional appeals are very effective, but they're fallacies.
It's not cool.
I certainly don't think I laughed at it. I think benzo dependence is pretty much a euphemism for an addiction. And if you know anything about my work,
that's
and
the
me being
problem,
super crunchy and speaking about,
I mean, Mikhaila fussing over the word dependency versus addiction, this comes off as weak.
why I think medicines are bad, because they do create dependencies, which then yield people going onto the streets for something stronger. I mean, the benzo addiction becomes a heroin addiction because the doctor won't write you the prescription anymore. So you turn to the streets for something stronger because you're.
I mean, what do you guys think? This is looking like it's a little rough here. Charge you $5. I don't like listening to women in polemics. It's like when women are trying to be boss babes. It'd be nice if we had, guys being guys and running society. What are you going to do? It is what it is. Look, I'll take, somebody at least making good arguments, whether it's male or female, although I'd like to be the, guy making the arguments with the audience, but maybe one day we'll get to that. We'll see. NB $5. Anyone remember the part of Maps of Meaning where Peterson says that he had a wet dream about his grandmother? I've heard this. I've not read this book, but I've heard this. C. Froy 8, $5. I finished reading Reflections of a Russian Statement. I recommend the book, by the way. I'm reading through Liberty or Equality by Ledeen, but I'm needing more book recommendations on monarchism. Thank you. I don't know that many books on that, so I'm not sure what to tell you. Storm the Cat, $3. Their voices are annoying. I'm actually having a good time, analyzing kind of the tactics here, because debates at this level of media, for us, for our audience, we are more advanced in terms of debate proper, but for normies and for the rest of the world, this is what debate is, right? It's like them watching optics and performance not listening to and analyzing the arguments being made. I would venture to say probably for 90% of the public and people that are out there. I mean, just think about how politics works. Politics has nothing to do with logic and reasoning. It's all performance, looks. It's all pizzazz, smoke and mirrors, and like 2% actual policies. And so we can watch an exchange like this, which is actually kind of interesting from the standpoint of like who is using what technique here. You know, I mean, we've analyzed tons of debates. This one is really no different because it looked to me like Mikhaila started out by saying, Candace, you're really manipulative. But as this discussion progressed, the actual manipulation technique was much more on the side of Mikhaila than it was Candace in this discussion.
Body is dependent on it. I'm sorry that, again, you are offended by this conversation simply because it is your father. I don't think I've been offensive in my language. And if you find it to be manipulative, that I think that it impacted the way that.
By the way, somebody said it's all theater. I mean, in that sense, yeah, like media, politics, it's a lot of theatrics, right? If you remember, they were saying, remember when Obama got elected and they were doing these studies and they'd written all these analyses that when they talked to, you know, the average woman why they voted for Obama, and it was like, because he talked and looked so smooth. Like what does that have to do with whether he's a good presidential candidate, right? So like it has nothing to do with, you know, what's really the case.
Men saw him when they publicly were saying that on Twitter. We covered the tweets that people were writing on that day about how, you know, they used to idolize him. They're so grateful for his book, but this is not the person that they knew. Again, I'm sorry you're offended by that, but it's just the reality of what happened. And I can tell this is a sensitive topic for you, but it is what it is, Mikhaila. I don't know what to say. I don't think anybody's laughed at it. I think it's a good conversation to be had. And no one is more anti-Big Pharma than me. I mean, I have an entire series against Big Pharma, so.
I don't even know where to start with that. You know, benzo addicts will go.
By the way, I'm not saying that Candace can't engage in the same types of techniques, right? I'm just saying in this discussion. So you can disagree with me on this assessment if you want. It's fine. H. Brazzi, $10. On your next space, I want to call in and detail the insane interaction I had with a bunch of men who literally told me that they don't care about logic in the argument, and they used an ad populi on me. Well, yeah, man. Like, if you're in the normie world, they're not going to listen. They don't care about logic. Melon Keisner, $5. If Candace is playing the role of a shark, Mikhaila is the fox. Mikhaila is actually more manipulative. I'm just talking about in this discussion.
To the street for heroin. We were trying to spread awareness about psych med withdrawal, and we were very honest about what everybody was going through. I went through psych med withdrawal myself. It was one of the worst experiences in my life. It kills people, causes akathisia, which makes people suicidal. It's a terrible side effect. So that's what we were talking about. Now, if you...
Okay, well, but I mean, then Jordan Peterson needs to say that, you know, he was wrong when he said in his first book, take your meds.
To treat benzo addiction. That's what we were told by the press, the New York Post, the New York Times, his 12 Rules tour.
Now I'm trying to get to the point about the psychopaths or whatever.
And he called me a pharisaical pretender. This is a real tweet because I said Christ is king. This is the one that Christ is king has broken so many people.
Oh, okay. I didn't see this tweet. So this actually was about her. So Peterson is saying that she's the pharisaical pretender. She proclaims her devotion for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth, but build bridges. Not to shout the truth, but build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity with a new force, her own purposes. She uses God's name in vain. There are few more unforgivable sins. So let's hear her reaction to that's a pretty spicy comment there.
People's brains, it's amazing. It's incredible why the declaration that Christ is king has broken so many people's brains. I wasn't even speaking to him. I was speaking to somebody else. And I said, thank you for re-upping this most crucial conversation about Christ is king almost exactly a year later. And once again, during the season of Lent, after a year of thoughtfulness, I want you to know that I will never stop declaring it.
Now, one thing I have to say about Candace is that, wait a minute, didn't you choose Roman Catholicism? You became a trad cat. That's the huge mistake that you made, because the very people that you're criticizing, all the big Z, pretty sure Francis and the Vatican II papacy are 100% bowing down and worshiping those people. Why would you choose to become a trad cat if you have a committed opposition to big Z here? Interesting.
Is anything about that tweet? Keep that back up. Anything about me saying that make you think that someone should be jumping in and calling you a pharisaical pretender? Well, that's what Dr. Jordan Peterson does on X. This is how he behaves on X. Okay, there's just long threads of him writing these like poetry, like literally it reads like poetry, but he's calling people names.
Debate Elijah. We tried to tell Elijah to come and debate at the Vegas debate that Ubi is doing. I don't think he has any interest in that. And then I told Elijah he's welcome to hop on a open space at any time. He doesn't want to do that. He says that he must have a formal debate with a moderator. So he wasn't interested in the in-person debate that presumably would have a moderator, because it's moderated between Ubi and Voice of Reason, which I might be at in person. And then Elijah says he's too good for an open space call-in, and he demands a moderator. I don't owe him a moderator. If he doesn't want to call in, my policy has always been, if you got a low subscriber count, we don't know who you are, you barely have an audience, I don't owe you a formal debate. And if you think that's running, then call in on the open space. No, I'm not going to do that because I need a moderator. Oh, I mean, I can give you a timed response. No, I deserve a moderator because I'm actually really important.
Ad hominem attacks. He writes Candace Owens, a true pharisaical pretender.
And by the way, the day that I was sending the X space or talking to Elijah Yassi and another dude about an open space debate, they literally sat there for like 20 minutes debating me in the DMs about debates and how debates should work. And I'm like, I'm not going to debate you on debates. You can call in on my space, or Ubi can set up something, right? Which Ubi was talking to Yassi about coming and debating at the live event. That's it, man. I'm not going to sit. I don't owe everyone with 3,000 followers a debate.
Again, this is a guy who has not asserted that Christ is anything in his life. He is not baptized, and he gets angry when people push him on what his religion is. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, but to build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She's literally using God's...
So, I mean, the problem with these kinds of things is that this just always turns into people arguing about people's motives. And that's like the most weak ass way to totally leave and deflect from a debate. I mean, we saw Leather Daddy Albrecht and Scam Shamu do the exact same thing 2 weeks ago. They'll go nuts, crazy, all this stuff, anything but actually agreeing to come to do a debate, right? Throw a fit, poison the well, throw a poo-poo bomb in the middle of everything so that there will not be a debate. And then spend the rest of the time bitching about how everyone has bad motives, everyone's so evil, oh, they're just the worst person ever. Why don't you just go confront the person and have a formal moderated debate? I'm talking about when it's a big name person, right? How come you won't give Elijah Yassi a formal debate? I don't owe a 3,000 follower person a formal debate. And Ubi even said, come to the Vegas thing when I'm debating Voice of Reason, and we'll try to set up something with you and Jay can debate or something. Oh, I'm not. Ubi says he doesn't want to do that. I don't know. I don't talk to Elijah Yassi. But Ubi said something to the effect of he wasn't interested in that. Okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, I think everybody over here knows, like, if you really want to debate me, it is possible to set that up. And I don't know why some of y'all can't understand that a lot of these people don't actually want to debate, right? I don't know. I know you can't figure that out. That's hard for you to figure it out. But was it hard for us to set up on my side a debate with Stefan Molyneux, Matt Dillamonkey, Sheikh Azrar Rashid, Paul Williams, Dr. Shabir Ali, Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, Daniel Hakikachu? Was it hard to set up a debate with any of those people? No, it was easy. How come the Muslims, like, it's easy to set up a debate with a Muslim? Now, the only one who was hard was Jake. Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, was a nightmare to try to set the debate up with, because he kept bitching and whining and, oh, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want this. Right? How come we've had no problem setting up a debate with all of these other people? And then these whining, bitching idiots and losers with 2,000 followers or whatever, like Yassi. It's just like they'll debate with you in DMs for 30 minutes about debating. And I finally just told Yassi, like, I don't have time for this. I'm not wasting my time. Dude, are you lonely? Get over yourself. You're just trying to be cool. Yes, I am trying to be cool and argue with everyone. That's my life's mission, is to be cool and argue with everyone. I open up for open forum debate and have done that for 7 years now on Twitter. And I've been debating since the year 2000. So I've been debating for 25 years. Yeah, I mean, that's, in the case of Albrecht, that's what it is. It's like, you offer all of these different options, then they won't agree. They'll have some minor disagreement and then say that you're running. That's what happened with Jake, right? Jake said for many years that there will be no cross-examinations. Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, for many years would not agree to cross-examinations. And then finally he caved on that, and that's how we had the debate. So that's why Jake would never do it. And I was like, I'm not going to debate you if you don't allow that, because I want to pin you down. Lumina, $20. You're the best in the business. Well, thank you so much, Lumina. Appreciate that. H. Brosy, $10. What pisses me off is that the big name profiles like Sarah Stock, I don't even know who that is. She sees you reply, ask her to come debate. She ignores it. But some Protestant goober she'll reply instantly. Well, I mean, I don't know who Sarah Stock is, but I think just a lot of people don't want to have a real debate. I mean, the reason that we do pretty good over here, who cares about cross-examinations? People that don't want to lose. That's who. Because if you're not good at debate, that's where you're going to crash and burn. That's why. It's not irrelevant.
Name in vain. There are a few more unforgivable sins. Okay. Or I just said Christ is king because there was a renewed attack on the phrase, which was being sponsored by Dr. Peterson.
So I don't know that there are no upcoming female debates. The Dasha debate was like not that serious. It was a tongue-in-cheek debate. I mean, it was halfway serious because she said she wanted to debate somebody Orthodox, and she apparently wouldn't debate Luigi for whatever reason. So I'm like, all right, I'll debate. I'll debate a uni. Yeah, let's do it. Fine, I don't care.
Dr. Peterson teamed up with the ADL and the NCRI to try to label any political dissidents of theirs mentally ill. Okay. I think it's the thing that he's done that's been the most beyond the pale for me. For me, it's hang it up. I am not a fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson anymore because I see right through this. You'll recall, like I said, during that Lent, to him and 12 non-Christians, it was like 10 Jews. And I think it was 2 other people who we didn't know what their background was, to state that Christ is king is a form of political extremism. I'm not...
By the way, I don't fault people who have bigger channels for not wanting to debate a smaller person. I mean, I know what that's like now, right? There's not really any advantage or benefit to doing it. So people that have, 1 million, 2 million followers, I don't expect them to actually debate me. It would be cool if they did, but I don't usually expect it. And it's in the same way, like people who have 200 followers, like they shouldn't expect that I have to debate them or whatever. Really the way that this, I think, happens is when enough people in the comments and in the audience kind of bugs them enough that they think, all right, I need some content. I've been seeing for the last 6 months this person's name in the chat. That's how we got on Timcast. That's how we got the debate with Stefan. That's how we got the debate with Matt Dillahunty, right? It took a good few years for those things to come about when they saw the repeated references in the chat.
Take a look. This was if you forgot, thy name in vain, how online extremists hijacked Christ as King. Utterly absurd to say, completely ridiculous. And you will note the NCRI actually is known for, and by the way, to be clear, like,
and by the way, this is like this Johnny Moore guy. He's like some mega Christian Zionist. It's like, this probably was not the wise choice for Jordan Peterson to link up with this, to go after the term Christ is King. I mean, unless you want to alienate, a giant portion of your Christian audience, which I assume Jordan Peterson has a large Christian audience. But this really just kind of goes back to my criticism 7 years ago that classical liberalism is not compatible with traditional Christianity. It's only going to be compatible with these completely cucked versions of like cuckianity and evangelical nonsense, right?